At Sunday dinner, my brother said, "You're just jealous of us." Dad added, "Every family has a disappointment." I said, "And every family has a funding source." Then I shut down every account in my name and they went crazy. My name's Abigail, I'm 29 and I live in Fort Worth, Texas. I work as a cosmetologist and I'm damn good at it. I've built a solid clientele, I keep my books full weeks in advance, and I'm not ashamed to say I make more than most people I went to school with. But to my family it's not a real job. Not like Evan's imaginary career. Not like whatever big thing Evan is working on this month. Every Sunday it's the same show. We gather at my parents' house like some twisted little tradition, and I get to sit through an hour of watching them prop up my brother like he's some genius on the verge of greatness. Never mind that he hasn't paid his own rent in 2 years. Never mind that the Tesla he brags about isn't even in his name. It's in mine, like most things are. Because while they talk about Evan's potential, I've been the one quietly footing the bills. Last Sunday I pulled up to their house and there it was again, his white Tesla parked at an angle like it was the centerpiece of the driveway. I parked on the street like always, walked in with a bottle of Pinot I wasn't planning to share, and sat down at the table pretending I hadn't already decided this would be my last Sunday dinner for a long time. The conversation was already in full swing. My dad was going on about the economy like he had insider knowledge from his lazy boy. My mom was bragging about Evan almost landing a job with some startup in Dallas, and Evan, he just sat there nodding like it was all true. He had that smug little smile he does when he thinks he's being praised for something he didn't do. It was surreal listening to them talk about how hard he's been working, how he just needs one break. Then out of nowhere he looked at me and said, "You're just jealous of us." Not jealous of me, jealous of us. Like he and my parents were this powerful little unit I could never be part of. Like I was the outsider. The failure. And then Dad, without skipping a beat, added, "Every family has a disappointment." It wasn't even said like an insult. Just a casual fact like they were discussing the weather. I let it sit for a second. I could feel my pulse in my ears but I didn't show anything. I took a sip of wine, looked right at them and said, "And every family has a funding source." They went quiet. It was maybe 3 seconds of silence but it felt like 3 minutes. Evan blinked. My mom's face twitched. Dad went back to eating like I hadn't just thrown a grenade on the table. I stood up, took the bottle with me and said I had somewhere to be. But what I really had was a plan. What they didn't know, what they never bothered to ask, was how much I'd been covering for them. The Tesla lease? Under my credit. Their electric bill? On auto pay from my account. Their streaming services, their Costco membership, even the emergency credit card my mom used like a hobby. All mine. Every month I paid it. Every time they were short I quietly filled the gap. Because for years I thought that's what you did for family. You helped even when it hurt. But sitting at that table hearing those words I realized something. Helping them wasn't kindness anymore. It was weakness. And I was done being the weak one. That night I opened my laptop. I poured myself another glass, turned on some music and logged into every account with my name on it. Netflix, cancelled. Phone plan, removed their lines. Credit card, frozen then cancelled. Car insurance, terminated. Electric bill, switched to their names. I was calm. Surgical. Not angry, just done. By midnight I had 17 missed calls. Evan couldn't get into his car. My mom's phone line had already been shut off. The internet went down during one of Dad's poker games. They had no idea what was happening and that was exactly how I wanted it. I turned my phone on silent, put on a face mask and went to bed. For the first time in a long time I slept like a baby. I didn't even look at my phone until lunchtime the next day. I already knew what kind of messages would be waiting. Sure enough, 15 missed calls. 8 were from Evan. 3 from my mom. 2 from some random number I didn't recognize. The rest didn't even ring long enough to go to voicemail, just hang-ups. Evan left the longest voicemail. Said he was locked out of the Tesla and had to Uber to meet someone about a business idea, which was probably code for going out to eat with one of his freeloading friends. He wanted to know if I'd messed with the app. Said I was being immature. My mom's voicemail was more subtle. She asked if I'd accidentally switched something on the phone plan because her service went out at the pharmacy. She didn't even say hi. Just started talking like she was continuing a conversation we'd never had. My dad didn't leave any voicemails, but that didn't surprise me. He's the kind of man who thinks silence is some kind of power move. I didn't respond. I got dressed, went to work and acted like it was a normal day. One of my favorite regulars came in that afternoon, a woman named Paula who's been coming to me for years. She was talking about her adult son flunking out of college for the second time and how she was done paying his rent. I nearly laughed out loud. The irony wasn't lost on me. When I got home I made myself dinner, poured a glass of wine and opened my laptop. I didn't check the missed calls. I didn't open the texts. I opened a spreadsheet I'd started the night before and started filling in numbers. Turns out I had been bleeding money for years. The Tesla lease, the electric bill at their house, their phone lines, 3 of them, streaming services, a Costco card, the emergency credit card my mom used like it was her personal shopping fund, monthly contributions to Evan's business account, which I now suspected was just Venmo with a fancy nickname. It all added up. Roughly $2,300 a month. Almost $28,000 a year. That realization hit hard. Not just because of the money, but because of what I'd let it become. I was the reliable one. The one who always picked up the slack. The one who never said no. And for what? To be called a disappointment? I didn't cry. I didn't rant. I just made a list of the things I'd been saying no to all these years so I could say yes to them. Travel. Upgrades to my studio. Little luxuries. A new massage chair. Better skincare. Time off. The first thing I bought was a pair of limited edition sneakers I'd been eyeing since spring. I used to tell myself they were too expensive, that it was silly, but I dropped the money on them and didn't even flinch. The second thing I did was book a facial at one of those overpriced downtown spas. And then I scheduled a full body massage. Why not? I'd been paying for everyone else's comfort for years. It was time I enjoyed my own. On Wednesday I got a text from my dad. Just 4 words. We need to talk. I didn't answer. Then that evening Evan showed up at my salon. He walked in during the middle of my last appointment. My coworkers looked confused, but I just told them I'd be 5 minutes. We stepped into the back. He started calm, but it didn't last. Said I'd thrown the whole family into chaos. Said they couldn't function like this. He said I was overreacting, that this wasn't normal behavior, and that I needed to think about how much I was hurting everyone. I asked him one question. Why do you think you deserve my money? He didn't answer. Just blinked like the question didn't even make sense. I told him I wasn't angry, I was just done. And that if they wanted all the things I'd been paying for, they could pay for them now. He said I was being spiteful. I said no, I was being fair. Then I walked back to finish my appointment and left him standing there. That weekend they had Sunday dinner without me for the first time in years. I know because my mom sent me a photo of the table. It was just the 3 of them. It was the kind of photo meant to make me feel left out. But all I saw was 3 people who didn't know what to do without their wallet sitting across from them. I posted a photo of myself at a rooftop wine bar. Captioned it, "Cheers to keeping your own money." I saw that Evan viewed it 5 minutes after I posted it. My mom didn't like it, but I saw her name in the story views too. On Monday the tone changed. Mom sent a message asking nicely if I could just help with the phone bill this month, until they got things sorted. Evan asked if I could reactivate the car app just for a few days. And my dad, he actually texted, "We'll pay you back. We're just in a tight spot." I laughed when I read it. They were starting to get it. But we weren't even close to done yet. By the next weekend the cracks were starting to show. They weren't screaming yet, but I could hear the panic slipping in between their carefully worded texts and ignored calls. It was like watching a structure collapse in slow motion. They still hadn't figured out how many things I'd been paying for. Every few days they'd discover a new one. I didn't feel guilty. Not once. Evan had officially run out of free Uber rides. He texted me saying he was stranded and needed help getting across town to meet a friend about a new business angle. He didn't say please. Just expected I'd send cash like I used to. I left the message on read. That alone probably shocked him more than the shutdowns. My mom sent a photo of Sunday dinner again. This time the table looked a little emptier. Only 2 wine glasses. No centerpiece. No one smiling. Her caption just said, "We miss you," which would have been sweet if it hadn't followed a voicemail earlier that day where she accused me of being cruel. I guess that's her version of emotional balance. The next day I found out the water bill at their house had gone unpaid for almost 2 weeks. The notice had come, but they hadn't opened the mail in time. Now they were past due. Mom sent a text asking if I could just cover this one so they don't shut it off. I was at work filing a client's nails, and I paused just long enough to smile before deleting the message. Oh, not this time. Not ever again. That night I did something that felt almost ridiculous. I sat down and wrote a list of all the little things I'd wanted to do for myself over the past 3 years and hadn't. Not because I couldn't afford them, but because I had convinced myself I couldn't afford to be selfish. The list grew fast. New running shoes, a trip to Tulum I'd cancelled last year, a weekend spa stay, cooking classes, a new iPad, fresh towels that didn't come from some clearance bin. Nothing outrageous. Just things that made life feel full. I looked at the total. Less than what I'd spent on Evan's business ideas alone. Then I pulled the trigger. New towels, ordered. Cooking class, booked. Weekend spa, confirmed. It was like flipping a switch I didn't know existed. Meanwhile, their house was getting more chaotic by the day. The streaming services were gone. Internet went down for 2 days before they got it reconnected. The Costco card expired and couldn't be renewed because it was tied to my account. Evan texted asking if I'd deactivate the freeze on his gas card, which was funny because I didn't even know he still had that. I told him it was closed for good. He replied with a thumbs down emoji. That was the last thing he sent me for a while. Then came the group text. They'd never done one before. Mom, Dad, and Evan. All three. Evan opened with, "We need to fix this before it gets worse." Dad followed with, "Enough is enough. Let's talk like adults." Mom said, "We're still a family. Families support each other." It was almost impressive how they tried to pull the "we're all equal" in this card now. Like we hadn't spent years with them talking over me, talking about me, but never to me. I didn't reply. Instead, I printed something out at work the next day. A travel quote from a local agency. 7 days in the Maldives. Overwater villa. Spa access. All-inclusive. I taped it inside my closet door like it was a vision board. It wasn't a dream. It was a goal. A promise. A reminder that my money, my time, and my life were mine again. That afternoon, while cleaning out a drawer, I found an old receipt from the time I helped Evan cover rent. He'd promised to pay me back in 2 weeks. That was 3 years ago. I kept the receipt. Not for proof but for perspective. Later that week, Evan showed up again. This time outside my apartment, sitting on the stairs like some lost child. I didn't open the door. I didn't even move the curtain. He waited for 20 minutes, then left without saying a word. I watched him walk down the street, pull out his phone, and realize his Uber account was probably maxed out. I spent that night cooking a meal for one with music on and a candle burning. I watched a movie I paid for with my own card in my own apartment on my own terms. They thought I needed them. Now they were starting to understand. They were the ones who needed me. And I was finally learning how not to care. By the next week, things started getting weird. The messages stopped. Not slowed, stopped. No group texts, no guilt trips, no middle-of-the-night voicemails. Nothing. Silence. At first I thought they'd given up. Maybe finally accepted the situation. Maybe even, unlikely as it sounded, started taking care of themselves. I almost believed it. Until Friday. I was at work when I got a notification from my bank. A large withdrawal attempt from an old joint savings account I'd forgotten even existed. It had been opened when I was 23, back when I thought co-signing things with family was what grown-up daughters did. The account hadn't been touched in years. The balance wasn't huge, just over $4,000. But it was mine. My name. My deposits. Apparently my mom still had access and tried to clean it out. I froze the account immediately, called the bank, and transferred every last cent into a new one with security measures so tight it'd take a DNA test to get in. Then I sat in my car and just stared at the steering wheel. They weren't just entitled anymore. They were getting desperate. That night, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. All it said was, "You made your point. Enough now." No name. No context. But I knew exactly who it was from. I didn't reply. I didn't even save the number. The next morning, I drove out to a small town an hour from Fort Worth and toured a little lake house that had just gone on the market. It was nothing huge. Just 1 bedroom, a porch, and a view that didn't come with noise or expectations. I didn't plan on buying it. Not yet. But I let myself think about it. Let myself imagine what life could look like without obligation. When I got back home, there was a letter taped to my door. Not mailed. Taped. I pulled it off slowly, already annoyed, and opened it on the kitchen counter. Inside was a handwritten note from my mom. A real one on lined paper. It said they were struggling. That the shutdown had put strain on the family. That Evan was trying, but things were harder than usual right now. She didn't ask for money, not directly. But she mentioned bills piling up, food being less plentiful, and that Dad had taken out a small loan to get by. That's when it hit me. They were circling the drain. And they were hoping I'd reach in and pull them out, again. Instead, I booked the Maldives trip. Right then. No more quotes. No more maybe. Departure in 2 weeks. 7 nights. Overwater villa with a sun deck and 0 cell service. It cost more than what I'd given Evan for his last startup idea. That was the point. I closed my laptop and went to bed smiling. The next few days were blissfully quiet. I started prepping for the trip. Ordered a new swimsuit. Bought sunscreen that cost more than it should. Made a checklist of everything I wanted to do when I landed. Snorkel, sleep, disappear for a while. And then came the twist. My aunt called me. She never calls. We're not close. I hadn't spoken to her in over a year, but she left a voicemail saying she heard what happened and wanted to know if I was okay. She didn't mention money, didn't ask for anything, just said it sounded like the family was acting out of fear. Her exact words. I called her back. Turns out, Evan had been going around telling people I'd cut the family off without warning. He said I was going through something, maybe unstable, maybe pressured by someone. He'd even suggested that I'd gotten involved with some controlling guy who told me to stop supporting them. He made it sound like I was being manipulated, like I wasn't in control. That's when something in me snapped. I wasn't just going to walk away quietly anymore. I was going to let them know I was fully in control, and that I didn't owe them an explanation. After I got off the phone with my aunt, I sat in my living room for a long time just staring at the wall. Not because I was sad, but as I was stunned. Evan wasn't just embarrassed. He was rewriting the story entirely, telling people I was unstable, that I'd changed suddenly, that maybe a man was behind it, like I was too incapable of making a decision on my own. Like it wasn't years of being used, dismissed, and drained that finally flipped the switch, but some random boyfriend I didn't even have. That lie told me everything I needed to know about how far he'd go to protect his own image. He couldn't admit the truth, not even to himself. That I'd been holding the family up on my back, and the second I stepped away they all collapsed. So I decided to help that collapse along a little. It started with a very polite email to the credit card company that handled the card I'd let mom use for emergencies. Not only had it been canceled already, but I requested a full audit of all transactions over the last year. They emailed me a PDF 2 days later. Let's just say, emergencies included a spa day, an $800 designer bag, Uber Eats nearly every day, and a subscription box for organic dog food. They don't even have a dog. Then I contacted the car dealership about Evan's Tesla lease. Since it was in my name, I asked what would happen if I didn't renew it when the current term ended in 3 months. They said the car would be repossessed unless it was bought out or refinanced. Perfect. 3 months would give him just enough time to think he was safe. Then quietly I went into the app and removed my name from the Tesla insurance policy. That didn't cancel the insurance entirely. It just flagged the system and they'd need to update it immediately to keep coverage. I knew Evan wouldn't notice until they sent a notice to the house. And last I logged into my old Venmo, just to look. There was dozens of transfers. Evan's little notes, gas money, for lunch, just until Friday, business tool, you're the best. Pathetic looking back on it. Not one single repayment. Not one dime returned. I took screenshots of everything and saved them in a folder called Truth. Not to use, just to have. Just in case he wanted to keep running his mouth. That weekend I didn't go to Sunday dinner, obviously. Instead I got a massage, did a little shopping and came home to pack. My flight to the Maldives was in 4 days and I wanted everything perfect. I bought travel-size versions of my skincare, new sandals, a dress I had no reason to wear except that I wanted to. On Monday the group text came back to life. Evan, we need to talk before you go on your trip. Dad, there's something we need help with. Just a small thing. Mom, it's really important, Abigail. Can you call us? I didn't reply. I spent that night making a playlist for the plane, scheduling a ride to the airport and texting a friend to watch my plants. I went to bed early, phone on silent. And then, the day before my flight, they showed up. I was just getting back from the salon when I saw their car parked in front of my building. My dad in the passenger seat, Evan standing outside like he was debating ringing the buzzer. My mom wasn't even pretending to smile. They didn't say hi. Evan just said they were short on rent this month because of an unexpected medical thing. He didn't elaborate. My dad crossed his arms and said they needed $3,000. Said they'd pay me back next month. I didn't even ask what it was for. I could see it in their faces. This wasn't optional, not to them. This was their last card. They thought I'd fold. I didn't want to. But I also didn't want them calling me in paradise. Or showing up at my place again. Or ruining one more thing that belonged only to me. So I went upstairs, transferred the money, came back down and told them it was done. No thank you from Evan. Just a shrug. My dad muttered, appreciate it, without looking at me. My mom blinked like she wanted to say more but couldn't. Then they left. I stood there until their card disappeared. Then I smiled. That $3,000? Consider it a severance package. Because after tomorrow I was gone. The morning of my flight I woke up before my alarm. No anxiety. No dread. Just stillness. I sat on the edge of my bed with a cup of coffee, staring at my packed suitcase by the door. The weight I used to carry, of bills, of expectations, of being the only one holding everything together, was gone. And the silence from my family? It felt earned. They hadn't texted since I gave them the $3,000. Not even a thank you. I didn't expect one. I figured that money would buy me peace at least for a while. If not respect, then distance. At the airport I breezed through security. I hadn't flown internationally since I was 21. Back then I was scraping pennies to visit a friend abroad. This time was different. This time I wasn't running to anything, I was walking away. From being the safety net, the bank, the disappointment. I boarded the plane, ordered champagne before takeoff, and put my phone on airplane mode like it was a ritual. The moment we left the ground, I felt something lift in my chest. Like I'd finally closed a chapter that had been draining me for far too long. The Maldives were even more surreal than the photos. Turquoise water so clear it looked fake. Villas that stretched over the ocean. Air that smelled like warm salt and fresh starts. When I stepped into mine, I didn't even unpack right away. I opened the sliding doors, walked out barefoot onto the deck, and just stood there breathing. I didn't cry. Thought I might. But instead I just smiled. Like the version of myself I'd buried under years of obligations was finally surfacing. That first night I had dinner alone on the beach. No phone, no conversation, no pressure. Just a table set for one, candles flickering in the wind, and the sound of waves lapping at the shore. When the waiter asked if I was celebrating anything, I told him yes. Freedom. Every day after that I did something I'd been too exhausted or too broke to do before. A massage at sunrise. A snorkeling tour. I read 3 books. I wore the dress I'd bought just for this trip and took photos for no one but myself. No curated captions. No likes needed. By day 5 I forgot to check the time. I was sleeping in. Eating when I felt like it. I'd left my phone on silent since landing, and I hadn't once felt the need to turn the volume back on. Until the 6th night. I was sitting on the edge of the deck, legs dangling over the water, watching tiny fish dart through the light beneath my villa. My wine glass was half full, the sky was streaked with stars, and the only sound was the ocean. My phone buzzed once. I thought about ignoring it, but something in me, maybe curiosity, made me reach for it. A text. From my mom. "We're doing better now. Thank you for helping us. Hope you're enjoying your trip. We won't bother you anymore." I stared at it for a long time. Not because I didn't believe her, because I finally did. They'd learned something. Not gratitude maybe, but they learned that the version of me who never said no didn't live here anymore. I didn't reply. I didn't feel angry or emotional. Just done. I put the phone back down, let my feet sway over the water, and made a mental note to plan my next trip. Because this was just the beginning. When I landed back in Fort Worth a few days later, there were still bills I didn't pay. Still texts I didn't answer. But there was also a new line drawn in the sand. Not between me and them, between who I used to be and who I was now. And I wasn't going back.